Yeah, ha 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 ha. I have no idea how to start a video. And yes, you are in the right channel. Come back! Hey, yeah, this is 𝐅𝐨𝐥𝐥𝐨𝐰 Artworks, aka EQ. And sadly, I'm going to change 𝐅𝐨𝐥𝐥𝐴 Artworks soon, in January 1st, I guess. So in short, don't get lost, okay? I know many of you been waiting for this tutorial, and so I am. What more interesting is that Clip Studio Paint is sponsoring this video. So I'm going to introduce some helpful features with this software to help us with drawing hair, especially in rendering. First of all, I'm going to talk about hair types and what we're going to learn exactly today. So basically, hair types, or let's say textures, consists of several types from 1 to 4, and each number has like 1A, 1B, 1C, or like 4A, 4B, 4C, etc. So 1 is straight, 2 is wavy, 3 is curly, 4 is coily. What changes from 1A to 4C is the texture. How? You can notice that it's less shiny or oily, and most importantly, it becomes thicker and it has more volume when going to 4C. By drawing, we can say from 1 to 4, the edges gets lost and more detailed, but it's only if we thought about it being hyper realistic. In this tutorial, I'm going to, since I'm talking about anime and semi-realistic style, we will try to learn these lost edges and how to turn them into actual shapes, like how to simplify them. For straight hair, it's simple since the edges are already defined. For wavy, it's the same. It's defined as S shape. And what can be a bit complicated is the curly and the coil hair. For curly, it has tight spirals and it just has a lot of detail. Coiled hair is an extra curly hair, but the spirals are like too small that it just seems like a shape, like a general hair shape. So what we need to understand is that you don't have to draw every single hair. All we need to know is how their structure works and where is their source. It can be from the hairline, 1 dot, zigzag, 1 line, 2 lines, etc. Moreover, the general hair shape and how can we make it stylized. But you won't be able to make a logical stylized hair if you don't understand the structure first. So all you gotta do is to find some references and trace study over them and try to find the elements I've said: hairline, the roots shape, the general hair shape, and the folds if there are any. And of course you get in details later, because what we need to understand from this step is how to simplify the hair shape as a whole. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to compile a few references to explain how does simplifying work. So here I go. I'm tracing over the general shape of the hair of each picture to show how simple hair sketch can be. Of course, you take in consideration the folds and the fluid hair. You need to think about it as a 3D object. The second thing you need to notice and to take in consideration is the hair source and the hairline on the forehead, where all the roots come from. It can come from a line on the top of the head, especially when the hair is split into 2 or 3 parts or many parts as the cornrows. For now, I'm just gonna study the hair being split into 2 parts with a line or a zigzag where all the roots come from, or with a single dots on the top of the head, which is very common in anime. It's really good to learn more things and to present more types of the hair in your drawings. It would be helpful for creating OCs, because OCs are not just outfits. You can do like one OC with a single unique outfit. If you took that out, you change their outfit, it wouldn't look like their OC anymore. So OCs are also hair and eyes. The hair shape is very important too, but you need to practice that alone before moving to detailing and rendering. So as you can see here, my type of sketching is kind of sharp, which suits me actually to create better shapes for the hair, I go make a general outline for the hair and the main folds, including of course the hairline and where the roots coming from. So please practice general shapes, start with simple stuff, then go to details after. What I was trying to say, since I'm better explaining, is that you don't start sketching the hair randomly with details. For example, the very coiled hair starts with a kind of heart shape or tomatoes, peach shape. The curls and edges are not defined much because it's so curly, but you do give it a general hair shape, etc. Same for the straight hair. Well, straight hair is more defined, so it should be easier for you. You can simplify it as I did here with the weird banana shapes for the fringe, etc. You just give it a shape. In short, the hair sauce, the hairline, as well as the general shape of the hair make things much better and much easier. Now moving to harder step, which is the fold and the curls. Curly hair is a conspiracy by devil to confuse artists. But actually you can draw that in a simple way I'm going to show you now. And of course you can get inspired by many artists that draw curly hair in a nice clear way, such as Kawase, Norimori, Analusa. Anyways, first thing, you divide the hair into planes, following a specific perspective. Think about it as a 3D object again. For here, I'm trying to follow two sketching lines to create layers of the hair that are actually simplified and look 3D, just like in the video. There is the planes that are under another planes, and they are usually the ones that has more shadows. If we think about a normalizing from above, I'm repeating this shape a lot so as to make it more clear how I draw it. Here I showed its 3D form and how planes works. There is this source plane that comes from the roots, and it's related and attached to either the hairline or those dots and line sources. And there is the top plane, which gets the maximum of lights since it's on the top. And yeah, there is the planes that are in the back being folded, and they are usually dark because of the shadow, white coloring. So I did the study tracing again to show these volumes on actual references. Where they are clear, the green parts are the roots, the cyan part is the top plane where all the lights and stuff happens, and the back here that is usually darker. Again, my sketching style has those sharp edges, so that creates an interesting shapes for me. So I don't know if you'd like that, if you'd like to try that, or yeah, to see if it's going to suit you as well. Anyways, that I was trying to show here is how I've turned simple blocks into curls, from simple short cylinders to a rolled hair like this. This concept will help you with any type of hair. You just need to practice the 3D form I was talking about in the beginning of the video, and detailing we go after, of course. Now back to giving our heads some curly wigs, but think about it as a separated wig. Each piece of the hair is alone, and there goes the layers under that or above it. I'm drawing first some weird messy shapes coming from the head, and I mostly go for a shape like this while drawing. Dun 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 dun. And I sometimes break that harmony with a sharp turn, then I continue to curl it. Yeah, that's it. And of course for the fringe or the bang, you make those shapes but on the top of each other, like you're creating some layers of the hair, and that may be a bit detailed, but you can always draw one layer alone and the other one alone maybe, and later you erase what's not visible and hidden, like those intersections, if that makes sense. I didn't have colored pencils beside me, so I just took whatever I'm I see. So just trying to explain here and to separate those layers that I was talking about. And here it is. Here I've named them 1, 2, 3. What to practice here are the curls, and to get used to draw them in the first simple shape. And try not to go so far with it. Think about a suitable size of those curls. Here I'm drawing them and it suddenly looks like a tomato's colics. So that's a good example as well. Now moving to rendering parts. I'll talk about anime first, then semi-realistic. But first of all, I want to introduce Clip Studio Paint for this part, because it has some really cool brushes that are suitable for hair, and I'm going to work with the whole rest of the video, so make sure to maybe download it. Links are in description, and I'm going to explain some features that will help you for sure. Yes. Anyways, I wanna explain first how the lights for my side work. I start shading from the roots to the part where the forehead and the top of the bang is. That part is like where I'm going to draw lights. Then there is the shadow and depth for the rest of the hair. I'm just gonna give an example with a fabric on a soft edges cylinder. It has lights on the edges, so bangs and hair in general has that light too, exactly on the parts which it changes direction and when it rolls, just like bangs. It can be on the very top or in the middle or in the very bottom. You just need to know where exactly to put it according to how you drew it and how it's rolled. For me, I usually put it on the top or in the middle. Just depends on how much these bangs are rolled and how the head perspective is. Like if it's looking up, the lights can be on the very bottom. If it's looking down, it can be on the very top, etc. Well, now moving to line art, which is I don't know how to explain it. I know many of you hate line arts, but believe me, it's gonna be so fun when you find the right way and the right brush for it. For me, I don't use hard brushes for line art anymore. I use this design pencil brush on Clip Studio Paint. This brush is amazing because you can actually control it very well depending on a pressure, and if you draw softly it gives a transparent and a cool pencil texture. When you click harder it becomes sharper and harder. The tricks I use with this brush or in general while sketching is that I draw some separations and intersections that also links the lines together and makes I don't know how to talk, makes them look homogeneous. I have no idea how to call it in English. It's like you're giving it a depth and you are making objects stand out more and look 3D in general. So yeah, it's like you making the line thicker in intersections, if that makes sense. I add that effect by pressing harder on the brush so as it becomes darker and filled. Besides separations and those intersections, I also shade some parts on the line art so as it looks like more alive and clean. Moving to the coloring parts, and I will start it with my way of choosing colors. All these years, which many anime artists also use, which is obviously more saturated and has like more life and energy in it, and it looks hopeful. Not going through the same direction on the same color wheel. To explain that better, I'm going to explain the differences here. Now normally beginners know shadows as black and highlights as white, which is not always the case. And few professional artists know how to manage these lifeless palettes for their own concepts, and it does actually look good without it being saturated. But that's because they are already professional and they know a lot about color theory already, so don't jump to that step. Instead, try to choose more than one color for your shading. For shadows, it's more like purple colors or blue colors. For highlights, it's usually yellow or orange colors, sometimes even green or pink. You just need to know how to manage it. For example, if you choose the base color, choose a darker color, but turn the wheel to the purple or blue side. And ta-da! Of course, choosing colors manually is not that easy, and you should practice it as well with references too. Here I did the same for green. Highlights are yellow, shadows are blue. Now the question on your head is how it's going to be for yellow and blue, purple themselves. How they're going to have yellow highlights and blue shadows. For blue, it's going to have purple shadows, and pink, purple highlights. And don't forget to think out of the box while practicing. Don't get stuck with rules. Whatever looks more suitable for your drawing, try it. Just keep trying. That's not scary or something. Now for yellow, it's going to have bright orange-red shadows, and it can go to purple sometimes. Yeah, nothing is impossible while coloring. For the highlights, it's going to be white-orange or white-green. Again, it's up to you, and you can find as many ways as possible to make your colors look homogeneous. For example, this way, using multiply effects on a layer for shadows and overlay effects for highlights. And to be honest, you can use overlay for both actually. But I'm going to explain how multiply effects works, and I'm going to put every color I've tried for shading. They are all purple or blue. I just play with their brightness and saturation. You will notice that it doesn't work always to have that saturated look you'd love for a bright enemy character or an enemy drawing in general. However, you can always fix things with the overlay effects after. If only it could fix my English too. Make sure to add some half tuning as well. It's usually red, orange, pink, or even cyan or blue, or anything that will actually suit the outlines of your lights. But actually it has a logic, it's not just random. So don't just mass put in outlines everywhere. As to add is the gray purple on some very dark places where there is no light. It's called depth, I guess, and it's helpful with separating things and making things stand out, just like how you see the mountains fading and fading with that blue purple tune. Yeah, that's the depth. Anyways, here I'm showing how an overlay layer could save your whole life. We have a normal drawing with white lines and black shadows for the same color, and it looks so sad. How to make him happy? You use airbrush with that light orange I showed earlier, or any color that is similar to orange colors for the highlights, and ta-da! You expect me to draw a smiling face, but he's still sad because you didn't buy my merch. Anyways, let's put all these tips and tricks to the drawing. For enemy art, the hair base color layer is full, which means it's not transparent at all. You need to fill it either with a bucket. You create a layer under the line arts of the hair, of course, and you fill with the option refer other layers. But note, the line art should be closed and all. But sometimes bucket doesn't always work for you, especially if your line art is just have holes in it. So you gotta fill it yourself by redrawing the limits, and you put the bucket inside what you have drawn so far under line art. You use the option of refer only to editing layer. When finishing putting the base color, you create a new layer and you put clipping mask option button, so as the new layers will be masked to the base color shade. What I'm going to do now is to give the base color a volume. First then I color the fringe with the skin's color. On this case, it may won't work with some hair colors and some skin colors, but anyways, you try to make it like the bank transparent. Or since I drew the hair alone above the whole body, I do erase the bottom of the bank like this with an airbrush eraser, so as to show it's like transparent, and to show the eyebrows as well. I don't do that normally, but you can do it manually, and later you color the line arts that is under the fringe. Later I add the highlights on the very top of the head, and I add shadows at the very bottom and for the back hair as well. Of course, while using that color theory I've talked about so in the beginning of the video. And you put all these colors at first with an airbrush, so as it gives it a 3D form, a 3D look, and an actual general structure. Now for shading, there is this brush on Clip Paint Studio that I use a lot for hair in general. Yeah, smooth watercolor. It's also changed like depending on the pressure you give it to the pen, and you push hard to get a hard brush and it's kind of filled. When softly pushing the pen, the brush becomes a blender and blurry. You can control hard edges, glossed edges and soft edges with it. This brush is so cool and it has many functions. For today, I'm going to show how it's working for the hair texture. As you can see, I start from the bottom and the top, and I leave the middle part empty with a soft edge or a lost edge to some places. This part doesn't really need a dark color, you just need it darker a little bit, and it needs to be saturated a bit, so as to give the hair a volume and to show the parts where the highlights are. Now moving to the part where it's going to have hard shadows at the bottom and the back of the hair. Think about the planes I've mentioned in the beginning of the video and try to shade on the right places with a middle brush, not too small for small unnecessary details, and not too big if you want this particular neutral style. You can also change the color of shading anytime you want. Depending on the color you're shading, you can add like more details, and you can add the separations on the parts where the light is going to be. Now for the lights, we're going to add a new layer, and we will make it in the very bottom just after the base color layer, and we will add yellow lights with the airbrush under all those shading layers. And now you go back to the top of the layers and you add an extra lightings on the edges like this. Just make sure it's not too much, and of course if you felt like it's too much, you can easily erase their hard edges and make them lost. And of course you can add the depth of the shadow. Now are you ready for the magic? Now, if you ever change your mind while creating an OC, for example, or just making multiple versions of their hair colors, you can use this tool here. All you can do is to click right on the layers bar, select new correction layer, and click on the hue, brightness, and luminosity layer. This HBL layer at first gonna change the color of all the layers under it, so make sure to select clip and mask later when you change the color. You can also comment back to it every time by clicking on its thumbnail. Anyways, you can change the hue of the hair as well as its brightness and luminosity. So I'm going to show some tricks to make it following the color theory. You either draw with an airbrush the parts where you want to change. You hold Control on your keyboard and you click on the thumbnail of the parts you drew. You hide that layer and you create again an HBL layer, it would automatically create a mask for itself. So all you do here is to change the shadows to another color again, and you can add like more overlay layers with the yellow, orange highlights and purple, blue glows, and that would help give it a colorful and saturated hair. You can use the HBL layer for black hair and white hair as well. For black hair, you can lower the brightness, you lower the luminosity, and you can still like change its hue, because there is the dark brown hair and the dark blue hair, etc. For white hair, you upper the luminosity. I hate this word, luminosity, and you keep playing with the hue and the brightness until you find your preferred color. And don't forget to always color the line art with the darker color of the base hair color, or you can put a specific color like light purple or pink and change the line art layer mode to multiply so as it could suit all the different colors. My head already hurts thinking about how should I explain the curly hair, so I hate talking. So here I've like applied the sketching parts I've mentioned before in the beginning of the video. I do the curls. Here there is the line art, which is going to give you nice mirrors because I hate line art. But you know, as I said, you can sometimes like find it fun if you find a suitable brush for it. For curly hair, you just spray and you go ahead. It has logic. You can just keep lining. You need to understand what did you draw. The sketches should be like clear. There is this curly hair on top of this curly hair on top of this like bang, and while lining, you are understanding what are you drawing. Like, I'm drawing this on top of this, so you erase some parts that are in the intersections, you add those separations on the edges, and you keep drawing the hair as hair. Yeah, you need to have a logic behind that hair. Yeah, it's kinda a little bit harder, but you know, you just need to apply different shapes and not just making similar shapes and repeating them. It needs to be homogeneous. So I guess that's for the curly hair, because I said it's kind of hard, but it's not that hard if you like make the actual sketch clear. Because the problem of many artists and even me when I was like younger, I had a very messy sketch, and I don't add another sketch on it. Like, it's okay to have like a messy sketch, but you need to think about it. You need to add another sketch on top of that and to clear out like all the things you've made. Is this hair? Yes, this is hair. Is this hair on top of this hair? You know what I mean. You need to clear out things and not just to draw random like hair here, just coming from out of nowhere. And yeah, that's for the line art. And of course you need to pray. As I said, that brush is also helpful because I add too many details. When I add details, I'm not obliged to color too much or to shade too much because there are already details on the hair. But I don't do that always. I keep it like clear and like obvious. Like, this hair is coming from here, and I know what I'm doing, and I know where is this from. The same thing for coloring. You just add you just add glows, is that what it's called? Glow with the airbrush, make it colorful and to make it like more 3D form. To add the darker in the bottom or in the very sides, and light colors on the top of it. So for here, what is difference a little bit is that you shade every part alone, but of course like the roots are darker and the bottom is like also darker, and you leave those like middle parts, you leave them for our light. As you can see here, I'm putting circles, like circle effects, like to make it curly, and this brush helps a lot with like the edges, because as you can see there are some parts that are like having a hard edge, and there are parts that's having a very soft edge. So that brush I've mentioned before is very helpful to do that. And of course you can add more details on that, and to erase some details you need to figure out how to find your own solutions, because we don't like fall in the same mistakes. Yeah, after that you can add lights, as I said, but here I've added them on the top of that in a circular way, and I've added them also on the edges, so as it has that dramatic look. You know, I'm really sorry for revealing my voice for such an important tutorial, but you know, you gotta bear with me, this is my channel, okay? I also add more lights on the very middle, so as it has like more 3D form. You know, it's not flat. You just need to make your drawing look 3D, even though it's 2D actually, because this is anime style. I'm just waiting, I need water. As I said before, your lifesaver is overlay. This overlay effects can help you like adjust your colors again and give you a second chance, because you know, if you suck, you can like why are you using digital art if you are not going to use these? Why you need to use overlay. Overlay is very helpful, and it does adjust many things, and it does give an additional glow to your drawing, and it can also adjust your color choices if you don't know how to choose colors. If you can't, like, you know, I use it a lot personally, because sometimes my color choice go wrong, so I just use overlay. For here I just adjust the colors again with the hue layer I've said before. Here I make it black, and of course you can add more effects to it so as to change its color. If you have like an OC and you need to change its colors, you can make it white, you can make it blue. You know, you just need like to change the hue for the actual colors to make the brightness low for white and black. Yeah, as I said, layers, these like effect layers are so important and it helps a lot, so make sure to use them, especially on Clip Studio Paint, because they have a lot. It's very easier and very cool. Oh yeah, now let's start the semi-realistic one. For semi-realistic, it's not like anime. You can be free and you can like do less sketches, do less details on the sketch, and you cover that in the rendering. For the semi-realistic, I do a clear sketch, like a sketch that only has the form of it, and later you can go with details on rendering. For here, I paint with like starting with a dark color, and later I start to light in the middle. You know what I mean? Just like I've said, top and the bottom are darker, but the middle is lighter until it gives that 3D form. Just like I'm doing here, I'm going lighter, but that light spot is like becoming smaller and smaller, and that's the point. But what's important is the color choice, of course, because if you don't have that color choice or like adjusting with overlay effects, it won't look good. It may look good, like it's semi-realistic. If you add like details, and not too much details, but like good details, it's gonna look good, but it's gonna look empty as well. But you can always draw with grayscale and color it after. But for here, I'm just explaining the normal one, which is painting like a normal person. You just paint and paint. But for this part, I'm trying to fix it and to make the lights like less detailed, because you know details sometimes are just annoying. You are just adding too much detail, so you gotta make the surface clearer and softer. So here I'm doing it again, and I'm putting separations so as to make it clear, and that's it. You can also add additional hair, but don't go like too much in it because it's not going to look good. Even though I know some people have like a lot of additional hair, we all do, but in drawings it's gonna ruin the drawing. So try to make things as simple as possible and to think about it as forms more than detail. Here I'm going to draw the curly hair. For rendering it's a bit complex. You need to shade the parts that are coming out, the parts that are curled. So those parts are the parts we are going to add the lights. So again, you shade the parts that are rolled and curled, and you keep shading them like this. So again, you use the same brush as I said. You can use it. It's really helpful, and it does give a lot of edges, just like you can blur with it. You can also blend with it, blend colors, and yeah, you keep adding lights and it becomes smaller on that part, because you know light is not going to be on the whole hair, so it's just going to be on that part of the hair where it's rolled, like it's the edge when it's going to change its direction. So that part is where to add lights, and of course you can add additional hair that is going to make it more realistic. There is also this brush that is going to help you a lot, which is flat marker. This flat marker is really helpful. It's like the calligraphy brushes. It has a real special effects. In general, Clip Studio paints have a lot of good brushes, and I was so shocked when I came back to it, because long time ago I wasn't really interested in it. But then months ago, I guess 4 or maybe 3, I've managed to change my home to move to Clip Studio Paint to try it. To move to another software, because I guess it's better for me and it has a lot of things to do in it. Here you can just like add too much details, but also don't forget about details. Try to balance between the two. Try to shade the parts where it should be shade, and try to light the parts where it's going to be cool. Oh my god. Here's a summary. I've used flat marker as a brush, which is really helpful. You go from the dark to lights like this. First off to consider is using the flat marker, because that's what I used here. It's not too much hard. It's also transparent on some parts. For the semi-realistic, I've used flat marker brush. I go from dark to light colors, and I add separations to it, and of course I add also the additional hair to it. So make sure to do the stuff if it's going to help. And the main basic is like to go from the parts that are dark or the parts that are not rolled, and to light the parts where it's going to change its direction. You know what I mean? This is how it works for my semi-realistic style. And for the curls and everything, you just go from the top and the bottom, and you let the middle is like where it's changed the direction. So the middle, it's where we are going to have the highlights. And of course, our lifesaver, you add overlay effects to it, because that's add a very cool touch to your drawing. Now, as a summary for both like styles, there is the anime style, which goes from lighter to darker. I put the base color, then I shade the bottom parts and the top parts, and of course the parts where it's rolled and it changes the direction is where we are going to put the the lights. And of course you can add the depth, that purple, blue color on the dark places. For semi-realistic, you go from dark to light. You keep adding lighter colors, but depending on what I've said about the color theory, so as it looks more natural and more cool. So you're drawing more colorful, more shiny, yeah, everything. And of course, if you feel like you're adding too much details, just get that out. You can adjust anytime you want. Don't say, no, I've already shaded, why am I going back to it? Just shade that again. And yeah, I guess that's all. And of course, in the end, you add the overlay. Yeah, that's it for the video. I hope you learned something, or at least understood what I was saying, because I have no idea how I was talking. This video is sponsored by Clip Studio Paint. This is a big thing for me because I just moved to it. Like, I have never thought I would move to another software, and this year I did. Like, I actually did. I moved to a whole new software, which is Clip Studio Paint, and they suddenly contacted me, which was so shocking. I was so shocked when they contacted me about the sponsorships. So hope you download it too. Give it a try because it's really cool. The brushes are really cool. Everything is just amazing. I really loved it. Yeah, there are a lot of brushes that you can download from other artists. Yeah, there are a lot of 3D models. You can do 3D in it. There are a lot of backgrounds and 3D backgrounds in it. You can also make animations in it. I will give it a try someday. You can also make mangas or comics. There are a lot of things that you can make on this software, so just give it a try. Links in description. And this is not just because it's sponsored, but it's really cool. Like, in general, I moved to it before it's even sponsored here, so yeah, give it a try. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other questions about drawing hair or Clip Studio Paint in general, make sure to join my Discord. Links are in description. You can follow me on Instagram for more arts. I post my arts there. If you want my art in HD, you can join DeviantArt. And yeah, basically just read the description and you'll find all my platforms. So yeah, have a nice day and stay safe. Bye.